And welcome to Just Football. I'm your host, Matt Emch. It's good to be back this week. Week 7 in high school football. As we always say, the fastest 10 weeks in football. It is incredible that we are really here at week 7. So we have a good show for you today. In about a minute, we're going to have the owner of the Mahoning Valley Federals, John Galbraith, call in. And then we're going to have Jim Craven call in as well. We're going to talk some high school football. Coach Brian Shaner of the Mineral Ridge Rams will be calling in sometime between the 6 to 7 hour. Coach is in the middle of taking care of business. And then my partner, Matt Lipsack, uh, my partner in high school football and the voice of the Youngstown Phantoms, is going to call in towards the end of the show. We'll find out what's going on with the Phantoms, and we'll talk about what's been going on with Mineral Ridge, and we'll delve into some of the teams with Matt as well out of high school football with Jim and hold on one second here. Here's John Goldbreath here on the line with us here on Just Football. How you doing, John? I'm doing well. Thanks for calling in. It's really exciting to see the things that have been going on behind the scenes with the Federals. Obviously, you had a good season. It was your second year, but really, let's be honest, your first year really deep into the team. You guys went pretty deep, a game away from the championship, and now you guys are starting to put together things for next season. What's going on with it? So, what are you going to do with trying to get more of the local guys? Because when we look at what happened, like for instance with Jim Tressel and Youngstown State when they were winning championships, he did very well of recruiting from the state of Youngstown. What are you going to do to try and get out there and get some of these guys that might not be playing college ball, that didn't get an opportunity, or that are done playing college and want to play more football? You and I had talked about, the patricians, and I found it so interesting. You guys are going to be doing something a little bit special in this next season to do with the patricians. Would you tell us about that? That is phenomenal. I'm sorry to cut you off, John. Phenomenal idea. What's the color scheme of that team? Almost kind of a Texas A&M kind of color scheme there. That's really cool. That's awesome. We had also discussed something that I find absolutely beyond exciting. And if you don't want to talk about it now, we don't have to. But we had discussed a little bit about where you guys are going to be playing next year. Okay. Okay. Well, it'll be super exciting when we do announce all of that. If you can get out, to some of these players in the area that you want to be pulling into there, what would you say is the most important thing that you would want them to know about wanting to be a part of your organization? That's beautiful. Perfect. Looking back at last season, you started out a little bit slow. I mean, you have a brand new, franchise really trying to get their feet under them. But as the season progressed, you guys improved. What are your thoughts on the season you guys had last year? Now, this year, there are going to be some changes in the league. What changes are happening? It's pretty exciting. which would be beautiful because of where we traveled last year. I think Toledo, yeah, 2.5 at the most, which is easy. Well, that's going to be very exciting. We are beyond excited about being involved and calling games for you guys again. Me and Matt Lipsack and Mark Means will be on board, obviously. So we're looking forward to the relationship that we have with you guys and having a long one at down the road. Well, all right, John. It is super exciting. We're looking forward to it. Thank you for calling in, brother. Oh, all right, you too. That was John Galbraith, the owner of the Mahoning Valley Federals. We'll be right back, everybody. And welcome back to Just Football. I'm your host, Matt Emch. Excuse me. We're going to go right to the lines where we have Jim Craven on. Jim, how are you, sir? Yep. Sorry, Jim. I had you muted there. How are you? We are in, yeah, it was just touching on that real quick. Thank God we had some sun today because it rained all weekend long. Looking at where we are, Jim, we are in week 7, unbelievably, with high school football. I can't believe where we are. It has been exciting. Me and Lipper calling Mineral Ridge games. They've had an up and down season so far. They're 3-3. Started out a little rough for them, had a couple of big wins, and then last week they just couldn't pull it together against Lowville. Now, you guys had a big game last week with Poland. South Range obviously not missing a beat this year. Always going to be, it seems, one of those teams in the Valley that is going to be, spoken about possibly for a state championship. What a program they have there. Now, excuse me, looking at some of the other teams in the area, I got to bring them up. Yeah, I did play there, but you can't help but hear how well Ursuline High School is playing right now. They're just playing lights out. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at, that schedule. They had the hiccup against Walsh Jesuit, who beat Akron Hoban, by the way. They're undefeated. They lost to them 37-35. They had fumbled on the goal line there. In fact, I think they had a couple of them. Beating Bishop Hartley 41-10, Farrell 27-0, East 40-6. Harding, a good Harding program with their new staff, 35 nothing. Fitch 35 nothing. They got Akron St. V's this week. So it'll be a really big matchup for them, the both Irish teams. Looking at Harding, Jim, what's your opinion about how they did start and how they're looking right now with that new program going? Looking at this week, who do you guys have coming up on Friday? Uh, Looking at, we have a game coming up with Mineral Ridge. They have the Camel Red Devils. Camel playing some different teams this year. What's your thoughts, quick, on that matchup? Oh yeah. Looking at some of the other teams in the area, are there any other high school teams? Yeah, I think Struthers, they might have had a loss there against South Range, but they're actually playing really well right now. We're going to take a quick break here, Jim, but could you stick around and we could touch on some of the NCAA scores and maybe some of the NFL? All right. We will be right back, everybody. That's Jim Craven on the line. I'm Matt Emch. We'll be right back. And we're back on Just Football. I am Matt Emch, and we have Jim Craven still on the line. Jim, switching speeds here to NCAA football. We had a big weekend. Obviously, the Ohio State Buckeyes staying on the road that they're on, being undefeated right now. Yeah, I mean, you got these certain programs like, Alabama and Georgia where you see these freshmen step up and right away they are a part of something incredible. It's good to see that happening, with our Buckeyes. I agree with you though, Jim. The strength of schedule situation definitely going to come into play when we get into that playoff. You look at some of the other teams, like I just mentioned, Alabama, who took care of Georgia, by the way, playing extremely well. Anybody that thought that the Crimson Tide were done with Nick Saban retiring, they were sorely miscalculating things. They better start playing, really well against the better teams in the Big Ten, or they're going to have a lot of problems. Right. I agree with you. You look at, and you mentioned the Irish. To my disappointment, and Coach Gessler and some others, they looked really strong, and then all of a sudden, they play Northern Illinois and take a loss. Oh no, no, that was a huge loss. It definitely does not make the people who are donating money to that program happy at all. Um, I have to bring up, I don't know if they are ranked right now. I'm going to have to bring it up, but Kentucky absolutely playing lights out. Coach Stoops doing a great job. They should have beat Georgia, and they had a big win last week. And be Yeah, and then beating Southern, or beating Southern Miss. So that, what was it? Southern Miss last week. Let's see. Hold on one sec. Ole Miss. I'm sorry, 2017. And then, like I said, they lost 1 point to Georgia, 13-12 a couple weeks ago. I just don't understand how they're not getting more love from the people, the powers that be. Looking back, going back to what you were talking about before with Ohio State having Oregon coming up, they played really well last week against UCLA 34-13. What's your thoughts on them now with the other teams from the Pac-10 being a part of the Big Ten? Yeah. uh, Looking at the standings, obviously Alabama moving into first place after what they did to Georgia. But Texas, the Longhorns, back into the mix, definitely looking like one of the best programs that's sitting at number two. They're definitely, if they keep playing the way that they're playing, going to end up in that playoff. Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. Sarkeesian is definitely making people happy. You see Matt McConaughey always on the sidelines there. He's happy. Uh, Looking at number 8, Miami, Florida, the Hurricanes are back in the mix, opening up the season 41-17 over Florida. And then right now, last week, they took care of a close game in one of their big rivals in Virginia Tech, 38-34. Oh yeah. Yep. Yep. Let's jump on over to the NFL. We had a big week there, looking at some of the local teams around us. Pittsburgh having a tough loss to the Colts, but also showing that they're capable of coming back when they're losing. Well, speaking of the Browns, having a close loss to the Raiders, they had the whole, all white on. By the way, I thought that looked really good, even with the white helmets. What are your thoughts on them right now at 1-3? Yeah.
Cleveland right now is that Nick Chubb is back in practice today. We'll see in about 2 or 3 weeks whether he's going to be game ready.
Looking at some of the other teams around the area, obviously the Bengals, they got to win 34-24 against the Panthers. Starting out slow as well, 1-3 right now. Your thoughts on the Bengals?
Well, it's an NFL win against the Panthers. I don't know how high quality of a win it is, but nonetheless, you'll take it in the NFL any way you can get it. They regressed as well. I think Joe Burrow has been off kilter for some time now. I think that Mike Brown is not willing to pay the money out to keep the players that he needs to have there, and that's been the standard for him forever and a day. And they've had instances where they've gotten good. They've made it to the AFC Championship, but I don't see them getting any better here. Again, Burrow regressing a little bit. That's a little bit sad to say because I think he's a really great quarterback. I think he's great for the NFL, but you've got to put him in a situation where he can be successful. And right now, it's just not happening. A lot of disappointment going down there in the Queen City.
Well, what about the Dallas Cowboys sitting at 2-2? Beating a rival in the Giants 2015 last week.
Yeah, they get a division win, and anytime you get a division win in the NFL, that's huge. A Giants team that is struggling, oddly enough, a Giants team that beat Cleveland, but with the level of talent that Dallas has, I don't know what the issue is. I don't know what the problem is here. Year after year, the expectations are high, but for whatever reason, they really can't live up to those expectations. I don't know if it's a GM issue. Is it Mike McCarthy as the head coach? Is it Dak Prescott as the quarterback? You see so much talent around them. Micah Parsons, that guy is just insane.
Yeah.
The offensive line is good. They have things going on there, and Lord knows, Jerry Jones doesn't mind spending money. It's the greatest atmosphere maybe in pro football. So yeah, a tough one for the fans to swallow. 2-2. I mean, they're going to get better. I think. I would like to think anyway. But it's going to be tough for them. Again, they come in and beat a Cleveland team that we thought that was going to say something. But seeing how Cleveland's playing, that win maybe doesn't mean as much as we thought.
How about the Buccaneers? Playing 3-1 right now, just beat the Eagles 33-16. Oh, and by the way, a guy who was the quarterback at the Browns recently as well.
Yeah, how about you just make everybody in Northeastern Ohio nauseous after you see that a quarterback that wanted to be in Cleveland, that was playing injured at the time, got booted over to Carolina. Now he's in the conversation for the MVP, and maybe not seriously contending for it, but his name's been mentioned.
Playing well.
And he's working great in their system. And I think he's matured a lot. Even you hear the interviews and the way he talks about other players, and you see that maturity that I think Cleveland was looking for and gave up on. But again, it's him and Joe Flacco are probably the two biggest reminders for the Cleveland Browns right now of what could have been, and based on where they currently are.
Right.
The frustration is just beyond explanation.
Real quick, your thoughts on the Chargers. Now they're sitting at 2-2, losing 17-10 to the Chiefs. Not a big surprise at 4-0. But you look at John Harbaugh coming over from Michigan, getting rid of or running from there before the NCAA threw some ire at him. What are your thoughts on what he's doing in the NFL?
Make no mistake, John Harbaugh's a winner. It's simple as that. Wherever he goes, he wins, and he does a great job. It may not take real quick for his system to set in here, but he's going to get there pretty fast. You saw what he did with San Francisco. That was a quick turnaround, and I think he's got the talent with the Chargers. I keep wanting to say the San Diego Chargers, but he's got the talent there, and I think once that clicks, that's going to be a serious contender there. Make no mistake there, minus a few injuries that they're going to have to overcome. I think the Harbaugh effect is going to be good for that team there. And it worked out for him too, because I don't know, he might be sitting home this time of year on another suspension, from the NCAA.
Yeah, you're definitely right. We'll see how he does. Jim, I want to thank you for calling in, man. It's always great having you on.
Thank you. And I see you had John Galbraith on there. They're still working this year too as well. So we're excited for them.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time.
You got it. We'll see you then.
All right. We got Jim Craven on the line. We want to thank him very much for being on. We'll be right back, everybody.
Experience nature's bounty with Creation's Backyard. Elevate your health with the most nutrient-dense foods on earth. From farm to table, sustainably cultivated with care. Grown locally in Niles, Ohio with no chemicals or synthetics ever. Unlock your culinary creativity with Creation Backyard Microgreens. Convenient local delivery and pickup options available. Order now at creationsbackyard.com or call 330-282-7208.
In the Valley, football is king, and the Mahoning Valley Federals are looking to build the 2024 roster with talent forged in this area to compete for a Tri-Point Football League championship. If you're 18 and older and looking to return to the gridiron, call General Manager John Galbraith at 330-540-1099 or visit the team on Facebook at Mahoning Valley Federals Developmental Football. The Mahoning Valley Federals, honoring the football tradition in the Valley.
SNK, painting your house today. SNK, painting your house
SNK Painting provides exceptional painting and refinishing services to the Mahoning Valley and surrounding communities by being an industry leader in our field, focusing on customer service and delivering extraordinary results. We offer interior and exterior painting, and we specialize in cabinet refinishing with affordable cabinet solutions. Call SNK Painting for your free estimate at 330-505-1910.
SNK, painting your house today.
From high school to the pros and everything in between, you're listening to City View Sportscast, part of the iMedia One network.
And welcome back to Just Football. We're coming up towards the end of the show here. And as we like to do on the show, we like to bring in my partner, Lipper, Matt Lipsack. How you doing, sir?
I'm well, Maddie. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a really quick 6 weeks in the can. Week 7 coming up here in high school football. Mineral Ridge have a big game. Obviously, all games from here on out are bigger than they were before. You got the Campbell Red Devils coming to town.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Ridge, they lost a tough one last week. It looked like in the fourth that they might have it. Louisville able to come from behind and pull it out. But, Campbell, they could be tough. They took a LeBray squad right down to the wire, lost by a point, and beat up on St. Thomas Aquinas the first week of the season too. So a couple of common opponents for the Red Devils so far in the Rams, and we'll be interested to see how the Rams bounce back after the tough loss.
Yeah, looking at Camel's schedule, as you just mentioned there, opened up with a 48-0 win over St. Thomas Aquinas, a 26-25 tight loss to LeBray in week 2. They beat Champion 30-25 in week 3, played Lowville really well, actually, only lost 26-19, so that was a close one. Then Springfield 37-8 loss, and then Western Reserve, they're just undefeated right now. Beat them last week 36-14. So it will be interesting to see how they match up. Ridge has really got to turn it on. We're worried about some of the losses physically, and we'll have to see how that pans out this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Want to see Jacob Russell back at that tailback slot if at all possible. And, Michael Lockhart also got his bell rung in that game against Louisville last Friday night, hoping that Michael is okay.
Yeah, I hope so too. I had spoken to a little birdie who goes to school with those guys, and from what I was told, Shingledecker should be back, but Russell was on crutches and was supposedly got off of them today. If he's going to sit out a week, I guess, out of what's left in the season for Ridge. This would be the game
This
for him
this
to
this would
miss.
be the week. This would be the week for Jacob if he did have to miss. Because obviously the meat of the schedule is coming up. You know, if last week, uh, Louisville was the appetizer, Camel, I'm sure that the Ridge Rams are hoping is maybe just the soup. But you know, as we get to the main course here, Matt, Springfield, Western Reserve, and McDonald,
Oof.
that's a murderer's row right there to end your. That is an absolute gauntlet for the Rams to end the season.
Yeah, Springfield is 4-2. Western Reserve is 6-0 right now, and then McDonald is 4-2 as well, finishing up the season against their rival. So they're just going to have to really play perfect and lights out.
You know, Matt, just kind of looking at the playoff picture. Ridge right now sitting at 13. So what I believe that gets you the 4 seed, that would be LeBray. Right now, if the playoffs started today, everybody loves that phrase. Everybody loves that conversation. But just looking at these last 4 games, I think Ridge needs to find a way to go 2-2. 3-1 would be great. I mean, 4-0 is asking a lot, especially if Jacob Russell and Owen Shingledecker are both not 100%. But I think if they can find a way to go 2-2 over these last 4 games, get to 5-5, then you're in the dance.
Yeah, and looking at it right now, you got Kirtland in Region 21 sitting at number one. Obviously, Kirtland every year. You got Pie Valley at number two. We know how well they played. Dalton at three, Leavittsburg, LeBray, like you just mentioned, at four, Smith Mill five, Toronto six, at seven, Hanoverton United. Uh, Valley Christian at eight, Springfield at nine, Wycliffe at 10, Columbia Station, Columbia. I don't even know where that is.
Up by Cleveland.
Okay. Then Ridge at 12, Rittman 13. Let's see, anyone else? North Jackson 18, Camel at 20, Mogador at 19. So right now, like you said, they definitely are in the mix, but man, they can't lose any games. Matt, let's switch speeds here and jump on over to hockey. How's our Youngstown Phantoms going? How are they doing?
So the Phantoms are 2-2 right now. Early in the season, another young squad, not as young as they were last year. Last year they had the youngest age per player in the USHL. This year, I think it's like fourth or fifth youngest in this 16 team league. So there's a little bit more experience coming back for the Phantoms this year. Got a pair of stud goaltenders. But Matt, all 4 games that the Phantoms have played, they've been 1 goal games. They've been close, competitive hockey games. And I think we're finding out that this team, is built to hang tough so far. Um, they've only put up more than 3 goals once, and that was the opener, the overtime winner, 4-3 last Wednesday. I guess 2 Wednesdays ago, down at the Fall Classic back on the 18th. Last weekend, a 3-2 win against Madison, followed up by a 3-2 loss to Chicago. So I mean, really, no complaints about the first 4 games of the series. Maybe take or 4 games of the series, 4 games of the season. Maybe taking too many penalties, but the penalty killing has been good. I think the penalty kill is 18 for 21 or somewhere along those lines. Now, giving another team 5 power plays a game is not where you want to be. You want to have that number down around like 2 or 3. But still, no complaints whatsoever. The Phantoms have a stud rookie out of Czechia in the name of Adam Banach, and he is worth the price of admission. So Phantoms will be back home for their home opener on the 18th. They'll be in Cedar Rapids, Iowa this weekend, and they have a bye week next week. Finally, we get the the home opener on October the 18th against the Lincoln Stars, who are coached by Youngstown native Rocky Russo.
Nice. That's really awesome. I love hearing the connections to the valley. Now, obviously, with it just being, just into the season, a lot of questions up in the air. But who are some of the other teams that, right off the bat, you got to mention are some of the cream of the crop?
So I mean, it is tough to sort it out so far. Obviously, we're only 4 games in. The Sioux City Musketeers, who the Phantoms lost to in Game Two, 2-1, they are the only undefeated team so far. The Musketeers are 3-0 on the season. Defending Clark Cup champion Fargo Force, believe they're 2-1 on the year. They lost their opening game, actually that I had to broadcast for them because they were playing the Green Bay Gamblers, and neither Fargo nor Green Bay travels a broadcaster. Fargo shut out in Game 1 of the season by Green Bay, and then I believe they won their second game of the Fall Classic, and then won the only game that they played last weekend, which was their banner raising up in Fargo. So don't know what to expect from the defending champs yet. This Cedar Rapids team that the Phantoms will be playing this coming weekend, they're 2-1. They won both of their games at the Fall Classic. They actually the only Eastern Conference team that won both of their games at the Fall Classic. Then only played one game last weekend as well. They lost, so they're 2-1 on the season. Phantoms are 2-2. So I mean, really, so far, it's so hard to tell
Right.
who's gonna be doing what. I think maybe the only team that we could count out might be the Omaha Lancers. They're, I think, 0-3 or 0-4 on the
Oof.
season, and it would be another long year out in Omaha.
Who do we have coming up in the next couple games here?
So the Phantoms will be in Cedar Rapids this weekend to take on the Rough Riders. As I said, the next week they get a bye weekend. They're in week 4. Week 5 will be 2 games against the Lincoln Stars. The 18th and the 19th. Actually, Phantoms are planning a tailgate party, I believe, starting at 3 o'clock on the 18th before the home opener. Now, of course, a lot of the Valley is going to be at their high school football, but if you can come out to the Valley Center, we'd love to have you. Next night, the 19th against the Lincoln Stars again. The following weekend, the Phantoms have the Sioux City Musketeers coming in for a pair of games. And then the Phantoms go back on the road for a week, and then they are home for 2 weeks. I could not tell you against who. I just remember that's the way it goes because I know what my Mineral Ridge playoff availability was. I was going to be able to broadcast week 1 of the playoffs, which I believe is the first weekend of November, and then after that, I was with the Phantoms for the next 2 weeks.
Let's jump real quick here in the last couple minutes here. Some big games, obviously, over the weekend, with our Pittsburgh Steelers having a really tough, close loss, but also a lot of questions answered for the Steelers.
Yeah, I think you and I both talked about it. Justin Fields is maybe a little better than a lot of people are giving him credit for. But the Steelers lost an eminently winnable game on Sunday. They were their own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Penalties weren't the issue like they were the previous week against the Chargers. The Steelers really didn't have any big, huge monster plays called back due to penalty in this game. They did, some very questionable calls on defense as far as penalties that were suffered. That fourth, there were a couple of fourth downs where I thought Tomlin maybe should kick the field goal instead of chasing the fourth down. Obviously the turnover by George Pickens in the red zone was huge, and I mean, really, Steelers probably should have had a better result on Sunday, but that's football.
Yeah, it is. When we were talking, obviously during the game, very nerve wracking. But considering, they only played what, Matt, 1.5 quarters of that game, losing the entire first half and not playing well in the beginning of the third quarter. They definitely showed that they are what most people think that they are, cream of the crop, one of the better teams. And just the fact that Justin Fields as a quote unquote backup is just playing so lights out. It really bodes well as they get deeper into the year and near the playoffs.
I think anybody that thinks that the Steelers can't come out of this division is talking out of their backside. I mean, the division, as far as I'm concerned, is wide open. Obviously, the Steelers have put themselves in a good spot through 4 weeks of play. They're 2 games up on the Bengals, 1 game up on the Ravens. Obviously, divisional play hasn't started for any of these teams yet, but still, they've put themselves in a nice spot. I'm sure if you asked a lot of Steeler fans, um, would you take 3-1 at the end of 4 weeks with Justin Fields as your quarterback? I'm Show me somebody that wouldn't have signed up for that, Matt. I'll put it that way.
I agree, Maddie. I'm excited about it. It's definitely going to get better as we go. Matt, thank you for calling in, brother. I'm looking forward to Friday.
We'll see you Friday. Go Rams.
All right, buddy. That was Matt Lipsack, voice of the Youngstown Phantoms. We'll see everybody on Friday with the Mineral Ridge Rams when they have the Camel Red Devils come to town. And we'll see you next week on Just Football. Bye, everybody.
From high school to the pros and everything in between.